Welcome to the Revenue Marketing Report powered by CaliberMind. This is the podcast for marketers who want to make their way into leadership. I'm your host, Camela Thompson, and today I am joined by Misha Salkinder. Misha, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hello, thanks for having me. Like many of us on these interview calls, I spend a lot of time on the intersection of tech and marketing and data and marketing. Background was in pure marketing for about 10 years before I got really curious about how to make decisions based on data and things that have worked in the past and how we can apply those to forward-looking decisions. And so studied some data science and it's been CaliberMind for about 4 or 5 years now with a stint as a data scientist at Meta in between, before coming back and realizing that I really want to spend more time solving the challenging problem of building an analytics environment that's truly useful for marketers.
I love it. I kind of had the opposite journey. I don't know if you know this, but my mom is a database manager and analyst, and it was like, that's where I ended up. And then I made my way to marketing. So I had very much the opposite journey. So this is interesting.
To each their own.
Yes. Yeah. You went one way and I went running towards marketing. It's fine.
And yet diverged.
Yes. Yeah.
Diverged in the marketing.
Yeah. So today we're going to be talking about how to use intent and engagement. But before we even go there, I think it's really easy to kind of conflate the two. So if you could give us a bit of an overview of each and how they differ, that'd be awesome.
Sure. I really would put a differentiation between first-party sources and third-party sources. Could be some more nuances to it, but I think at a high level, I think of it this way. So when things happen with your campaigns on your website, on your digital platforms, your trade shows, I would consider all of those to be first-party data. And typically, much of that data gets recorded, gets passed on to a CRM, or exists in a marketing automation platform. And then third-party data, or what I would consider intent, is data that exists in relation to the subject matter where your company operates, but doesn't necessarily involve interaction with your brand, your specific brand. In the context of CaliberMind, we can think of someone searching for attribution on Google broadly, or someone viewing attribution vendors on G2, right? Or funnel or marketing analytics vendors. I would consider those to be intent data points that are still useful to gauge. There are certain organizations that are interested in my solution, but they might not be interested in us just yet.
Yeah, and I can totally see why it gets confusing, because intent as a product is exactly third-party data across different sources, showing signals that may indicate they're in market. Whereas in marketing land, intent is really the buyer's intent to buy. So higher intent signals can exist on your own website. But if we're talking intent and engagement, yep, very much first party, third party. Yes. So how should we use them? It's a loaded question. You can go anywhere you want with it.
Yeah, I think, remember we chatted last week and I mentioned how marketing models, I think the more time I spend in this, the more I really think that what we at CaliberMind here, for example, do is much less of build this model versus that model. It is the creation of the data itself. And then the models are different flavors of leading marketing questions that can help you make better decisions. So why do I say this? Ultimately, both intent signals and engagement signals can and should appear on a timeline, on a unified timeline of activities, if you can get your hands on that data. Now, and similar type models can distinguish organizations' level of, I'm going to use the word engagement, but I'll apply it to both, level of engagement with either the subject matter or your brand. So you can say that Acme Co is showing higher levels of first party engagement with my brand than, let's say, a different organization. You can have this same type of logic that says that Acme Co is showing higher level of third party engagement than another organization. So to simplify things at a high level, I would think of third party engagement happening earlier. We might speak as to where that might not be the case, but I can think of third party engagement happening really high up on the funnel. If we think of a marketing funnel, there might be many more kind of unknown events, or maybe even have a stage for third party engagement where that would happen. And your goal as a marketer would be, well, how can I get the attention of organizations that are showing high intent in my category to move them to first party engagement? Once they are there and they're showing some signs, well, then it's a matter, well, how can I help them move through the marketing funnel, perhaps with engaging with, interacting with deeper level content, right? Whether it's content on the website or subsequently events, webinars, perhaps even demos.
Lots of thoughts going on. I really like what you said about how there isn't really one model or one way to look at things, because I think what's important to take away from this is that context is everything. So I think it's really important to remind marketers that you can't obsess over a single point or interaction in time. For example, if somebody's spending a lot of time on your product pages, that's great. But are they also spending a ton of time on your career pages? They may be job hunting. So I think when you start to layer in things like segmentation and the looking at multiple interactions, that gets really interesting. And when people want to optimize for something, I think you were really smart in saying, I want to take people who are active in the third party signals and try to move them towards first party. Because what I immediately thought of is when people are trying to optimize for pipeline or bookings, you really either need to layer on some kind of segment information within your own first party data, or somehow kind of combine attribution, engagement, and intent to figure out what's actually working.
What
do you
can envision a grid, right, where you have first party data and third party data. And let's say it's a 4 square grid, low high for both. Well, you might have motions. I mean, the low is a really high end, perhaps content motion, right? Brand awareness type of motion. Perhaps even a step back from brand awareness, maybe a topic awareness. So if you're thinking of CaliberMind, maybe it's a general content around attribution without even mentioning how CaliberMind differs, right? And then you have the kind of high intent, low engagement. Well, you might have certain motions, campaigns that you run to those that will be very different than those that are aware of your brand, but actually don't seem to be very educated about the topic at large, right? And then the last quadrant would be, of course, those that maybe you hope are in a positive sales motion with your organization, where they're showing both high first party and third party intent. So you can almost bring in a bit of a funnel methodology to this by thinking of these quadrants.
And I think the way we can kind of relate this to marketers in a more tangible way is if you think about your website. You have different pieces of content, like you said, tailored towards different parts of the funnel. If you're using that first party engagement data, you should kind of think of prioritizing that data the same way that you thought about it when you first created it. So I'm working with Airfleet, and they were talking about optimizing for bottom of funnel keywords. And I was like, excuse me? I didn't know you would do that. And then I thought about it. I'm like, well, duh. I've been doing this for a long time without even thinking about it. You've got your product pages, your solutions pages, your comparison pages, all of that good stuff. It's something we do all the time and don't really think about. So if people hear this conversation and think, wow, this is really complex, not really. It doesn't need to be, I don't think.
No, I don't think so either. I think there's a lot that one model can learn from the other. So I think you brought up a great example. Let's say we're thinking of solution pages. The reason it might be useful for you to know and understand both intent signals and first-party signals is, sure, you want to understand what behavior looks like on your product pages. Are your product page visits even contributing to subsequently close deals? But there is a play potentially where you say, well, how can I make my product pages better? And you might want to actually visit and see what intent looks like. And what are the organizations that are actually showing first-party signals, and what are the intent signals? Perhaps you might want to use those intent signals to incorporate into your solution pages themselves. So yeah, very interesting how those two, they seem like they're two different universes, but to my earlier point, more and more that data converges for me.
Yeah, for sure. Like I said, product pages, if the person's also on the career page, maybe not so much, but if they're also on G2, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Possibly. Context is everything. Which
absolutely
is a great segue for our next conversation, which is why should you be worried about funnel conversions and how that can help you in your marketing strategy?
Very top of mind. Yeah, very excited to have that conversation.
Listeners, thank you so much for tuning in to the Revenue Marketing Report. Please tell 2 friends, subscribe, download, whatever you can helps. And for those of you looking for more great content like this, check out CaliberMind.com.